Well, welcome to a new Harry's Garage video, and yes, it's another auction preview for Iconic Auctions at Race Retro at Stoneleigh Park. Now, as ever, this is a real rush job. Tom behind the camera will do the editing tonight, and tomorrow, Friday, 21st of February, is viewing day from 9:30 in the morning, and then the sale is on Saturday, the 22nd of February, starting at 11 o'clock with Automobilia, and then competition cars, and then road cars at 2 o'clock. So yeah, there's a group of cars, and there's around 100 cars in this hall, an amazing mix of cars. And we have competition cars, which all the lot numbers start with a 5, or there's road cars, and the lot numbers start with a 6. And honestly, the mix of cars here is crazy. There are 2 Pikes Peak cars here, a Bentley and an Audi short wheelbase Quattro. We're going to have a look at those. And then there's the Prodrive Impreza, the P25. There's a Senna, there's all sorts, Ford GT, loads to have a go at. I don't know where to start here. What should we start with? Should we? Not often you get a sale where you can either choose a competition 6R4 or a road going 6R4, or 2 RS200Ss. So this is a road going version of the RS200, the homologation special from Ford for Group B rallying, and really nice examples, these two. I'm going to feature both of them because they're road cars, so they've got the full interior. This one, 1,404 miles from new, 1986. So this has been beautifully done. It's just had a refresh, £70,000 to sort of make it as good as it looks here. 350 to 400,000 pounds. They're really starting to move, these Group B cars. But the red one is extra special because I've never seen a red one before. Ferrari red. This also, proper interior, Caro seats in there, all carpeted, looks vaguely normal. Gear badge, I don't remember those on them, but nice in red rather than white. And if you look inside, they've both got sort of 2 gear levers, and something I didn't realise, but the S version of the RS200, you can switch it between 2-wheel drive or 4-wheel drive, and this one guided at 300 to 350,000 pounds. Chunky money, but they are on the up, and we all know fast fours, for whatever reason, have a real following, and there's a number of them here as well. So a quick look at the Metros as well. 2 versions of 6R4 here. The Clubman we'll get to in a moment, but this is the competition version, and this Tony Pond drove in the Rally of Portugal in 1986. And just reading the blurb on the car, it was a tragic rally that year because a Ford RS200 left the road and went into a group of spectators, killing some of the spectators. And there was obviously a different atmosphere, and Tony Pond decided to withdraw the car. He couldn't continue the rally. He said, the crowd control, I just don't want to rally in these conditions. So, but this car was bought by the current owner in 1996. And if you go to the Goodwood Festival of Speed, you will know this car because this has been at the Festival of Speed from 2005 to 2024. So he's done that many appearances, been around the rally stage up there, going up the hill. So this has extraordinary history. He has also campaigned it internationally as well. Loads of competition history, and he's finally decided to part with it. With that sort of history, it is quite expensive. I'll just look at the guide on it. Guided at 275 to 325,000 pounds, but a real well-known 6R4 apparently on the button. Great to see it here. But if you want the more pedestrian version of a 6R4, if there is such a thing, this is the Clubman version. And they did 200 of these, basically homologation specials so they could go rallying with a works car. And this is one of those Clubman versions that is sort of untouched as it was delivered. I'm not sure if it had the mud flaps like that, but basically if you look at the inside, this is how they were delivered. So with the V6, Williams developed. I remember there is one of these in the, if you go to Williams F1, in the museum of their cars, they have this car because they helped develop this car. Stripped out, no carpets in it, but I love the Metro steering wheel and the hazards on the top, the same dash as you got in your Metro, MG Metro as well, and really very nicely done because they were never they were never built to a normal car standard, shall we say. So you'll see sort of rivets here with a special roof and things. Proper homologation special, 3,423 miles from new, this one, 1987, and guided at 200 to 240,000 pounds. But just great to see. Now, you might remember a bright blue Vantage that was sold at the NEC, the classic show there back in November. It was one of 7 of this V8 racing collection. Well, this is another one of the 7, but this time in a green, a vibrant green, almost a Kermit green, you could say. It's got a green leather interior, which is calmer than the one at the NEC, which had a bright blue interior. But it's just interesting to see that this is 626 kilometres from new. It says, if I look at the catalogue, that it was commissioned by foreign royalty as one of 7 bespoke cars. So another one has come available, low mileage again. The one at NEC sold at 51, 52,000. This is guided at 50 to 60,000 pounds for basically a brand new 2010 Aston Martin V8. Now, 2 cars here. I've always liked these. So this AMG Black Series. Now, 2007, this car, and 2-wheel drive and bucket seats in it, trick little gear lever on it, a lot of work on it, much wider track. I think they're 75mm wider track, 50 something at the rear, and they had a real stance to them. And they did 25 of right-hand drive examples, and this is one of them. But it's real bespoke bodywork. It's an enormous amount of effort for very few cars produced. And I had there's a friend up the road, you might know him, farmer, Mr. Clarkson. He had one of these, and he had it as his own car. He really enjoyed it. And I just let him know that this one is coming up for sale. And he says, oh, I'm not sure if I want to revisit. I've just got such fond memories. So it is guided at 100 to 120,000 pounds, 24,000 miles from new. I don't know, that seems great value for such a rare and sort of usable car as well. Now, funny enough, Mr. Clarkson said, this is the car he was interested in when he saw it in the catalogue. This is 24,000 miles from new, a Supra, and it's a UK car again, right-hand drive, 1994. And that is super low mileage. They do not find these in this sort of, you know, unmodified condition. But this one, I suppose it has the auto gearbox, which might be the reason why it's so pristine, so as it came from the showroom. And 24,000 miles, I say, guided at 30 to 36,000 pounds, but they were such a good car. My accountant had one and he did like 100,000 miles in it, and being Toyota, it just worked forever. So I really like those. If you want a modded one, well, here's a modded one this side. Big Recaro seats in it, I can see. I'm not sure what this one is boosted up to. It does not say in the catalogue exactly what horsepower it is, but 141,000 miles this has done. But they have a real following, these cars, and guided at 40 to 50,000 pounds. Yeah, it's a number of Lotus race cars here, Formula Junior there, but this one caught my eye because look at the driver, Emerson Fittipaldi. So this, yeah, Formula 3 from 1969. And yeah, Emerson Fittipaldi, you connect with Lotus and F1 and the John Player special cars. But he actually, this is early on, he'd won some Formula 4 championship and was given this car. And if I look at this, Fittipaldi dominated the 1969 championship with 9 wins, propelling into a works Lotus F2 drive. And this is the car he did. So Emerson Fittipaldi history, and guided at 65 to 70,000 pounds for that. This one, I think I've seen this car before, but I'm going to show it again because this is so weird. So this again is a Lotus 1967 S49 replica with 2 seats. So it's been extended so you can take a passenger in your Formula 1 car. You'll see a registration plate in the front of it. I think that's a Honda engine in it. Is it? It doesn't say, does it? No, it doesn't. But yeah, it's done 20,000 miles, so they have enjoyed it, and it's guided at 18 to 22,000 pounds for something completely different. Oh yeah, powered by Honda. There we are. There, mad car. Let's get back to some more road car oriented cars. There is RS 500, lovely in black, nice example. There's a number of fast forwards here. 52,000 miles, 85 to 100,000. This is actually quite a high mileage M3. There's a number of non-standard bits on it. So yeah, 134,000, guided at 40 to 50,000 pounds. But this is the one I wanted to show you because I think these are a bit of a sleeper in the market. If I was going to go back to this age of Sierra Cosworth and things, I've always liked these Sapphire. This is a two-wheel drive one, and yeah, 1990, 19,000 miles from new. It has the lovely leather upholstery in the Recaros in the front. Looks great, but they're half the price of a Cosworth, and they were developed that little bit more, and I think they're a great driving example of this. Very tidy, this one. Even with that mileage of only 19,000 miles, it's guided at 38 to 48,000 pounds. Let's have a look at this 911 here. I really like this Targa, 1982. Like the colour. I love Hell Bronze Metallic, this colour is called. Seems to be very well looked after, this one. I was looking in the catalogue, £30,000 recently spent. It's had an engine rebuild on it and just fettled, serviced each year. But it's got that Pasha interior that has also been redone, but it looks absolutely as it left the factory. So distinctive, this era of Porsche, black wheels on it as well. So yes, it's done 124,000 miles, but with all that expenditure, engine rebuild, etc., and 45 to 55,000 pounds for it. Also hiding here is this Ford Escort Mexico in the right colours with the stripes down it, proper RS alloys on it as well, and I love it's got Cibi spotlights at the front as well, just to complete the look. 35 to 40,000 pounds for that. But look at this Quattro. This is 1990 and a 20 valve, and it's gone through a 4-year restoration to get it to this stage. It's been on the rotisserie. It is utterly perfect paint on it. Look underneath, all on top, it's all excellent, all rebuilt, and even retrimmed interior. So pretty good, and 97,000 miles, guided at 65 to 75,000 pounds. I bet it costs an awful lot to get it to that sort of condition. Now, McLaren Senna, and this is a very special example because it is chassis number 001, the very first one produced. And the McLaren Senna, this is all about ultimate sort of track-going car with number plates, and they went overboard on the aero. As you can tell from this enormous wing, it generated, I'm told, downforce of 800 kilos at 155 miles an hour. And it has the V8 in it, was wound up to 789 horsepower, but they made it as light as they could. They went through every component in it, and they came out just under 1,200 kilos, this crazy machine. And obviously with a V8 engine in it, and you'll see on the side XP01 P15, because I say chassis number 1, this wasn't the first customer car, this was the very first Senna actually built at the factory that then was a development car and is now in private hands. And I love it because it is number 1 if you look at the chassis plate there. So as you imagine, it's quite an expensive example, this one. 800 to £1 million is the guide. It has every MSO extra you can think of added to it. Be very interested to see how that sells, because they are so extreme, and I think they're aging really well compared to a lot of other cars from this period. It was so extreme in its day, and it still looks it today. And look what we got beside it. We've got the second generation Ford GT, so this is the V6 version, twin turbo race homologated car with amazing aero. Every time I step close to one, I'm just amazed how they got that air to go past the cockpit and through the car here. Lovely also in these heritage colours. That was a significant extra if you ever want to order a car. I think did they do 50 of them? Yeah, 50 ever made. 3,500 miles this one. It's weird seeing them together because you always think the Ford GT is so extreme, yet in this company it looks the more sensible option with a better, more plush interior, but such history with its Le Mans winning pedigree and guided at 800 to £1 million. So if you've got that much to spend, a choice of 2 crazy track cars and also road cars, because they've still got number plates. Yeah, another Tommy Mackinnon edition of the Mitsubishi Evo. So 2000 this one came out. Such a following this car has gained over recently. You can get them in white, you can have them in this red, which is the colour I would have if I was going to get one. But God, they're getting expensive now. This is guided at 70 to 90,000 pounds. It has had quite a lot of restoration work on it to get it up to this condition, about 30,000 spent. So the Tommy Mackinnon edition at 70 to 90,000, or for less money, you could have this Cayman GT4. Now, this one, 2020, and this is as new as you'd expect, because it has only done 300 miles since it left the showroom. This car new was 85,000 with the extras it's got on it, and I just think we should be recognised more in the marketplace. Manual, 6-speed manual, that flat 6, 4-litre engine, unbelievable handling, just so friendly, so usable, and also with boot front and rear, etc. Everybody chases the GT3, but I think this is a sweet car at that sort of money, and they should be more recognised as well. And especially when you see where Porsche are heading, you know, they're about to replace this with an all-electric version, although I'm hearing it's been delayed. But this is a very good car, and it's got none of the nanny and ADAS stuff that you have on new cars as well. So to me, that is a good buy at 78 to 85,000 pounds. As here we have, the RS version of GT3 RS 2015, another super low mileage example, 550 miles from new, and in this gorgeous colour as well, which obviously I love because it's purple, and the satin wheels just looks right. It's PTK example, this one, and guided at 140 to 180,000 pounds. Now, this is another interesting GT4. So this is an earlier version of GT4, it's 2016, but it's got a lot of very tasteful extras on it. It has the carbon brakes on it, which is an unusual option. Obviously, manual again, guided at 12,000 miles since new, 65 to 75,000 pounds. You can just see the value from that GT4. They are definitely worth that in the marketplace to me. If you drive one, you would be amazed. And in a way, they're all manual as well, until they got to the RS version, which came out recently, and that was paddle. And it's so extreme, that car. It's so focused on track. I just think these are better. If you do more road miles and track miles, go for the GT4 version. But that's just my advice. Right. Another GT3, the same owner as the purple car, and 9,000 miles from new, 2014 Porsche 991.1 GT3, and 8,900 miles from new, and guided at 80 to 100,000 pounds. It's got steel brakes, I notice, on it. Some people prefer steel. I'm a big lover of carbon brakes once you've experienced them, but I know the replacement cost, if you do a lot of track work, gets expensive. Some minis. Changing it completely. Let's go and have a look at these two minis. Now, three completely different minis to have a look at. First one, this one, Mini Recharged, and the giveaway is probably on the number plate, if it's on the front, the green stripe. This is an electric Mini. It was done by Chris Rea, and it's been offered as all proceeds donated to the domestic abuse charity Refuge. So if you fancy an electric Mini in pretty trendy black and black windows on it, 30 to 35,000 is the guide. But this one is, I think, is very special. This is an original 63 Mini Cooper S, 1275cc, and it is an original one, but it has been breathed on by none other than Nick Swift. So this has the Swift Tune and Madgwick kit on it, but they kept it at 1275cc. They don't normally modify as actual Cooper S original car. They tend to use just a regular Mini and upgrade them to this standard. But this one is the genuine article. Looks just fantastic. I've always had a hanking after an original Mini Cooper, because they were, once you've driven one and see how quick they go and how the handling is like nothing else, so light, so nimble, and this one guided at 50 to 60,000 pounds, which is a lot of money, but that's probably as good as you get, especially one that's been tuned by Nick Swift. And if you know Goodwood, and you've seen him race the Mini at Goodwood against some big cars, you can see the appeal from having a Swift tuned car. Or there's this one. This is utterly different. So 1965 Mini Cooper, but this has had something hiding under there, which is super rare in Mini land, because they used that A series engine, and it was always battling because the exhaust and the inlet is both on the same side of the cylinder head. But this one, this secret, if I just lift this up, Minis don't normally do that. So this has the exhaust at the back, and this has a different, completely different cylinder head, so they can mount carburetors big Weber 40s on it that breathe straight through. So this is a proper mini special alloy rad on it as well, and not too much money. This is 18 to 24,000 pounds, and I bet it's an absolute riot. Now, don't often see these. This is a 2-litre early 911, short wheelbase one, and I borrowed that one for sports purpose, and I was knocked out by it. It was a terrific thing. Obviously it's the race series as well, and a sort of standard road going one. They're rare things. This is a German originally, this car, and it has all been restored, ground up restoration they boast on it. 2,165 miles since restoration. We've looked round it, it looks really good. The only slightly odd thing does seem to be sitting quite high at the back, but they're on torsion suspension these, and you sort of move it round on the splines, but that's the only thing we can notice on it. It seems pretty straight other than that, and guided at 60 to 70,000 pounds with all UK taxes paid. So worth a look. Or there's this. Now, Caterhams, I really like Caterhams. They are an extreme car, I think, on today's roads, but there is nothing that drives like a Caterham. Once experienced, it is very addictive, and if I was getting a Caterham, I just think this era of Caterham is the best. So you've got the big wings on it that at speed sort of create lift, but at road speeds, no, it is the look of Caterham. And yeah, it's 98 this one, but what I really like, it's got the K-series engine in it, and that's the lightweight engine that was in the Lotus Elise. It's a Rover engine. Everybody goes on about head gasket and things. They're easily cooled. You just got to manage it, make sure there's water in it and things, but they are such a lightweight engine that they make the overall feel of the car as light and as nimble as you'd want it. 6-speed gearbox on it as well, and this is about entry level for Caterham on price point. So guided at 15 to 20,000 pounds for a 25,000 mile Caterham with a K-series. Just love it. This Morris Minor caught my attention. This is obviously one of the race cars, 1949. This is the oldest racing Morris Minor in the world, it says, and it's done quite a lot at Goodwood. It's races at Goodwood Revival fairly regularly. And it's raced 5 Goodwood Revivals, 1 members meeting in 22, finished 4th overall. All sorts of well-known drivers have driven this. I'm looking at Tony Jardine, Richard Atwood written on the side, and eligible for the 25 Goodwood Revival St Mary's Trophy. So if you always wanted to race at Goodwood and you want a suitable car that no one else has got, well, there's this Morris Minor, and guided at 25 to 30,000 pounds. Another strange car I think is worth featuring is this one. Now, there is a large number of events, Paris Peaking and these overland events, regularity events, and you have to choose the right car to do it. And the main thing you need is reliability and toughness, like a Volvo offers. Now this Volvo is 1968 Volvo Amazon 123 GT. So this is very popular historic rally car, and this car is utterly prepped to the nth degree, but has never actually done the rallies because various other projects have got in the way, but he's utterly on turnkey. If you want to turn up at a rally, this car is ready to go right now with no prep. And it costs quite a lot of money to get a car in this condition to go rallying. And yet this car is guided at 20 to 25,000 pounds. I wouldn't be surprised if he spent 50 or 60,000 pounds getting it to this condition. So a guide price of 20 to 25 is a very good price, I feel, for that car. Now this is probably my favourite car in the whole auction. This is just a wild Audi Quattro that the owner has hill climbed extensively, including Pikes Peak. But he didn't start there. He started with a road car that he owned and then thought, what should I do with that? Maybe I'll go hill climbing it. 30 years ago, and it's gradually been modded and modded until it got to this incredible standard of car now. He's done the British Championship many times. He then went to Europe, and once he'd tasted the European scene and their wonderful hill climbs up in the Alps and places, he got completely hooked on that. And then he got the invite to go to Pikes Peak. He went in 2018, he had a slight issue with the engine, went back in 2019, and that year, unfortunately, it had a lot of cloud cover, and then they had a hailstorm, and they didn't do competition runs, but he spent a week there. just an amazing story, this car. I've just been speaking to him. It's around 700, 800 horsepower. No, it depends on sort of what fuel it's running and things. It is down to around 1,000 kilos in weight. And he was telling me if he looks at the 0 to 64 foot time, which you do on a hill climb, see how your start is going, he does it in 1.7 seconds and he's already doing 60 miles an hour at that point. He's monstrously fast. All over YouTube you can see this car doing crazy things, up hill climbs, etc. But he's sort of owned it for so long, he's sort of retired from the hill climb scene. So he said, do you know what, maybe I'll sell it. He's in two minds. He's either going to go to the grave with this car or it's going to sell at the auction on Saturday. And he put it in before at a very high guide. It didn't sell that time. This time there is much more interest in it because it's guided at 100 to 150,000 pounds. I don't know, it's a huge bit of history saying you really got to know how to drive this car because it is an animal. It's got a sequential gear shift, you don't have to lift off, you can go through the gears, bang, bang, bang. It is one of the most accelerative, crazy cars you'll ever imagine to drive. So there you go, if you fancy the ultimate hill climb Quattro, here you go. And also there is an open invite to go take it back to Pikes Peak. Or if you're really mad, because it was based on a road car, it was a normal Quattro, he shortened it during the development, you could put it back on the road. There's no reason why. It would need lights, it will need a horn, I think it needs a handbrake as well. And I noticed it's 1985, the actual base car, so that would be historic regged in the UK, so you wouldn't have to MOT and pay road tax on it after this year. I think it's April. Mad, mad car. Be fascinated what that goes for. Another extraordinary car in this auction. Now this is the Prodrive P25. So they made these cars in 2024. There was a batch of 25 cars and this car is number one. It has all the tech. Obviously Prodrive did the rally cars for Subaru. This is all their known tech, brought up to date, 2.5 litre engine, sequential gearbox in it and 440 horsepower from a very trick, highly modified 2.5 litre flat 4 engine. These were done, and as soon as they were released there was a bunch of collectors who just wanted the ultimate Super Impreza. It's such an iconic car in the rally scene, and especially done by Prodrive. And this being car number one is beautifully spec'd. There's a number of extras on it. It's price on application, the actual auction itself, but this cost ex-Prodrive £550,000 when new. It is now covered 121 miles and people are just, it's gone to auction because no one really knows the value of them. They were heavily oversubscribed, they only did 25, they could have sold them 2 or 3 times over, I am told, at Prodrive. So again, what is this going to make at auction? Well, you can find out on Saturday. And yeah, guided, no guide, price of application, low mileage and chassis number one. Now, I wanted to feature this Aston DBS, and yes, it's black on black in a black corner, so cameraman Tom May will be grumpy, but I think they're so elegant, these DBS like this. 2021 car, and this is the 07 edition, so James Bond edition in black. Got a carbon roof, I notice on it, carbon everywhere, dripping in carbon you could say, 2,500 miles from new. I think they're a really good looking car, this. It's a proper GT car. I've enjoyed every time I've got into one of these, and the price, I don't know, it seems okay for what it is. It's a flagship Aston Martin, big twin turbo V12 in there. Love the clamshell bonnet as well, and guided at 150 to 170,000 pounds for that, for a very good looking Aston Martin. Or there's this Bentley. Now, I've been saving this one until last because this is just wild. This is the sort of what I love coming to these auctions for, because you're never going to see one of these. It started life as Bentley, the GT3 version. They went racing with it, and quite successfully. Then this one went away from being a works car, was sold out, and someone turned it into a, it's done all sorts of things, drift works and rally attack type of events, which was very successful for it. And then I thought, well, let's take it to Pikes Peak. And Bentley had been there with a Bentayga and set an SUV record. Well, they went there to try and get the outright record in this car. And under the skin, the GT3, this doesn't have to run restrictors or anything. We've looked under here, engine is set so low in here, V8 twin turbo unit, big intercoolers, rated at 1,000 horsepower, they tell me, and two-wheel drive in this format, the GT3. Sequential gearbox on it as well. They've got the weight down to 1,200 kilos on it. But look at the aero. It went, unfortunately, it was going to go to Pikes Peak, and then COVID got in the way, but it did a run in 21 as well, and it was 18 seconds ahead of the other class entries during testing. And then again, the weather closed down, so he never actually got the full run done on it. It's Reese Millen, who's master at Pikes Peak, was the driver of this car, but he was that far ahead of anybody else. So they thought they'd take their outright hill record with this car, Pikes Peak. It has an open invitation if anybody wants to take it back to Pikes Peak. So here it is, all winged up, all ready to go, guided at 800 to £1 million. But what a bit of history, of Bentley history. There is a quick wrap round of this sale at Race Retro, iconic sale here. Incredible mix of cars, from all these race cars, Pikes Peak cars, to those early minis, all sorts of things in this sale. But you've got to be quick if you're keen on bidding on any of the cars here. Today's Thursday, this video will go out on Friday morning, which is viewing day. Viewing opens at 9:30 in the morning, and then again on Saturday morning, and then the sale starts with Automobilia, which is over there, we haven't actually looked at, that's 11 o'clock. The competition cars like this Bentley and that Audi Quattro, that sale starts at 12 o'clock. And then the road cars is at 2 o'clock. You can see it live on YouTube, you can see it on Iconic's website as well. You need to register a bid. If you have any interest in all of these cars, then look at their website. We'll put the website address, and I'll put a link in the description of the video, and all the details are there, more details behind the car as well. So hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, well, keep watching, keep subscribing, more videos coming along very soon.